thoughtful ideas and suggestions for guests and topics.
Great events, programs, and student faculty.
All the countries and listen.
Welcome to this week's segment of Dialogue Houston. I'm your host, Lawrence Payne. For those joining us perhaps for the first time here for HCC's TV Dialogue Houston, we can be found now every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 a.m. and again at 6 p.m., Saturday afternoons at 3 p.m. Always at the top of the hour, let me thank you for your thoughtful emails, calls, and text messages concerning previous shows that we've aired here on HCC's TV Dialogue Houston. For after all, this is your community affairs, public affairs show now in its 26th season. We always look forward to you giving us great ideas for guests and topics and subjects for upcoming segments of Dialogue Houston. We're using this wonderful year of 2020 as a visioning year to talk about where do we want to go and be and become and grow into as Houstonians on this long journey and path to a wonderful time called 2036. In the year 2036, Houston will celebrate its 200th anniversary, our 200th birthday party, and we're asking everyone to kind of think ahead. What kind of city do you envision? What kind of city do you want? What is your number one aspirational goal for Houston by 2036? Some people have thought about it, some haven't. For those who have, it's easy. For those who haven't, you got to think about it, but that's only part of it. The second part of it is, and how would you be acting and behaving today if you really wanted to see that happen? So we're talking about the future, and the future in some ways is here. The future is always growing and changing. Before I introduce our guests and get into our discussion for the day, let me just say to everyone, this is a time for reflection, to be still, to be quiet with the wonderful thing that's going on in the community around the virus. This is the time to just be calm. Do all the things they tell us to do from a health perspective we need to do. Spend some more time with the family, stay home more, stay indoors more. And we'll all get through this together. It is one of those wonderful times, though, for reflection and introspection and meditation and all those things we've been meaning to do, perhaps, and gives us now a chance to take a deep breath, to pause, slow down, and perhaps do some of those things. I always try to look on the show and have individuals, human beings, persons who have done a lot, some at an early age, some at mid-age, some at an older age. Age is only a number, of course, in all of this wonderful journey. The journey to 2036 is just a journey 16 years from now. Seems long, but it really isn't. And so I am always blessed to have a cadre of friends, people who I've developed relationships with over the years of mutual trust and respect that come and go in your life, ebb and tide at different times and different opportunities as we all go off and do other things, but we always seem to come back or gravitate back to each other somehow. The young man I have on the show this week is one of those who I've kind of watched his growth level, his maturity level, his wonderful journey thus far, and has a lot more things yet to do and accomplish. But I'm always glad to feature young people like that because they make me, as I get younger and older at the same time, feel very good about that growth process. So today's guest is none other than Fidencio Leija, and I always do it because he's a friend of mine, but I still got to say his name slowly to do it right. Fidencio Leija. And he's going to tell us, first of all, about his journey from when we first met to where he is now. But then we're going to talk about a lot of the things he's been involved with. And they're truly the mark of what a servant leader should be doing in our community, because every step along his journey, as he's grown and matured and developed, leads him to the next phase. And personally, I can't wait to see what those phases are as he gets gray hairs and white hairs in his beard and in his hair, because thus far he's on a great trajectory, and I'm just happy and proud to have you here. Welcome, brother.
Thank you, Mr. Payne.
And so good to see you again.
It's exciting. My journey would not be possible in where I am today without your mentorship and without your coaching and just your guidance. Just from the first day that I met you, and the beauty is that I returned home from the military. I served in the military in the U.S. Navy, and when I returned home, I tried I didn't think college was for me, and the only reason why is because none of my older brothers went to college. My parents didn't go to college. My mother went to 4th grade in Mexico, and my father went to 3rd grade in Mexico, so we used to joke around that my mother was the educated one in the house. But my parents were brilliant. You know, they had that informal education. I would consider my dad as an engineer just because he was always figuring out things. But, you know, I got the opportunity to try college, and I tried it at the community college level down in Texas City at College of the Mainland. And I got to meet you at one of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society conferences, and you were one of the guest speakers. And that was back in 2006. 2006. And so when I met you there, I think you sparked the fire of just reminding me the importance of servant leadership. And I come from a large family. You know, there's 7 boys, 1 girl. There's 8 of us, and then my mother and father, so there's 10 of us. And we grew up in very humble beginnings down in Galveston on a 2-story house where 2 families lived downstairs, and then our family lived upstairs. So, you know, we slept like tamales on top of each other, and there was just a 2-bedroom. And it was just interesting to grow out very humble like that. But I think just my father's work ethic and his commitment, my mother's work ethic and her commitment, I think just embracing those things allows me to be where I am today.
And that journey has been one from the College of the Mainland, and then you went on to college at Texas State. But what brought you to Texas State is interesting too, because that's part of your journey, your brother's death, and then moving forward from there. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So when I returned home after serving in the military, again, I decided to try college. My brother was just graduating from high school, one of my younger brothers, David, and we attended College of the Mainland together. And we became very involved with the Honor Society, with student government. We started an organization called MAYA's, Mexican American Engineers and Scientists. We had conferences there and helped out junior high students. And we were just extremely involved. But my brother got a scholarship to Texas State University. I got a scholarship to St. Thomas University because I wanted to study international studies and bilingual journalism. And so we went 2 different routes. But 1 year later, my brother David was returning from an event in New Mexico with his fraternity brothers and girlfriend, and they lost control of the vehicle, and there was 4 students in there, and my brother passed away in the fatal accident. He's the only one who passed away. But because of that and how close we were, it impacted me tremendously. I lost my scholarship. I dropped out of college at St. Thomas University here in downtown Houston. And I loved St. Thomas. It was just amazing, but God had other reasons why he put this in this cross that my parents had to carry, my brothers had to carry, my sister had to carry, and I had to carry. So when I decided to get back on the horse and decided to go back to college, I decided to transfer to Texas State University in San Marcos, and it was one of the best things for me. Everything that I did there was to carry on my brother's legacy, remember him, and just the energy that he brought to the table as a good person, as a servant leader, and just the love that he would give every individual. It didn't matter who they were. So I graduated from them. The university also honored my brother and providing him his degree, even though he did not walk. But man, that was a big deal for me.
I lost track of him a little bit when he went to San Marcos because I had a stroke and some other things happened to me for a while. But I want to back up to when he was admitted to the University of St. Thomas. That's what this pin is today, University of St. Thomas. My alma mater also. I was just so happy and proud when he got to go to St. Thomas. It was a great day. And then from Texas State, you came back to Houston.
Yes.
And went to work for neighborhood centers.
Yes, and so I came back, got involved in the community, and one of the things that you've always discussed is that to be a servant leader, it's about service. How do you figure out how you can serve your community and help those that are in need, and sometimes just need someone to open the door for them? And so I started off and working for an amazing woman named Ms. Margie Peña down in Pasadena at Cleveland Ripley. And this lady it's an ideal place to go to work under someone that's just so caring and so loving, but also guides you.
She is, yep.
And if you need to be knocked on the head a little bit, she'll do that as well. But working under her was just amazing. And the opportunities that she provided me, and to learn, the most important piece that I learned from Ms. Margie is that partnerships are critical. When you decide to serve the community, you have to build partnerships and collaboration. And so I worked for neighborhood centers. Because of the work that I was doing there, for some reason they saw a little spark in me and they moved me to the headquarters. And Miss Angela was the CEO at the time.
Angela Blanchard.
And Ms. Blanchard was the CEO at the time, and I worked under the HR umbrella as the community engagement. And so it was a great opportunity, great opportunity.
And you know, it's that kind of piece you talk about, partnerships. It's really what you and I have talked about from the beginning. It's relationships
Yes.
that you develop, that you nurture, that you maintain, that you grow, but very special kind of relationships built on mutual trust and respect.
Yes.
Because nothing happens without trust. We say that 100 times because you can only say it and keep saying it. Nothing happens without trust. Nobody does anything to or for another human being that they do not trust. So the question, as we're going to pick up after the break, is to look at this journey that now has led him to become a business person, a businessman, that has now taken him on to elected office. But he's done it in a way that allows that growth process to continue, that maturation to continue. And he's done it with humility, he's done it with wisdom, and he's done it with the ability to not only talk about the present, but have that visionary, really spark of a servant leader to talk about what do we need to do going forward as we try to improve lives of individuals and human beings in the future. Please stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Meet Travion. His mom went to Houston Community College, so choosing that was easy. Choosing what to study from more than 100 instructional fields? Not so much. HCC, for everyone, anytime.
When I was growing up, my mom was extremely tidy. We were trained to put things back where we got them from. One day, when I walked into my mom's house, I felt like I walked to someone else's house. There was stuff everywhere. And just growing up the way I grew up, and to see this transition was very alarming.
When Sean talked to me, it was a wake-up call, and that's when I went to the doctor.
HCC's online college is officially open. This not only means online classes, but also online degrees and certificates. You can now credential up anytime, anywhere. Join the fast-growing number of students getting their full college education from anywhere they use a laptop. HCC currently offers 32 fully online degrees and will offer 71 next year. You no longer have to find a way or time to get to college. HCC brings college to you.
If you've been with us for the first part of the show, we're having a fascinating conversation. It is one of those conversations that you are fortunate to have as you grow a little younger and older. That's how I describe myself, for having had to work with a lot of young people over your life to develop relationships in a very special way with some of them who come back and re-enter in your life and you re-enter in theirs. And it's kind of an ongoing thing that you pick up at different stages of their life. So we left off before the break talking with Mr. Leija about his wonderful journey. We left off at neighborhood centers. Now he is a businessman But the business is one that is formed to allow him to take care of his family. He's now married, and kids. But it also gives him the foundation to be able to give back, to serve, to be a public servant, to be civically engaged. But you got to take care of the family first. You have to provide for that income. Since he worked in HR at neighborhood centers, looking at benefits and all those things, I'm sure that may have had a little bit to do with leading into insurance. But you were telling me before we started taping in the green room that it was very important to get established in a way that allowed you the flexibility and freedom to be able to do the things you're doing in the community.
Absolutely, and I think just in anywhere, if it's Houston or if it's San Antonio, Austin, or in some of these smaller cities like Galveston County or even the city of Santa Fe, you're going to have passionate people that want to be those change agents and really help their community. For me, I remember one discussion that Maria Jimenez, which is an activist here in Houston, and she gave a talk, and I still remember, and one of the things she finished with and she closed out with, she said, if you want to change the world, go back to your hometown and start there.
Yep.
And so guess where I decided to go back to?
Right.
Where I graduated from, the city of Santa Fe, small town of right now it's about 13,500, right around 14,000. And now I'm back home. This is my hometown. It's not perfect in any way, but it's my hometown and I love it.
Right.
And to go into the insurance industry, I had to find something that was going to give me the flexibility and the balance that I can still, because I have 3 kids and a beautiful wife. My wife's a nurse, and without her, I wouldn't be where I am today. My wife, Chrissy, and she's a labor and delivery nurse, and that's what she specializes in. But now we decided to invest to open our own farmers insurance agency. But what allows me the flexibility is that now I can hire people that I am vetting, that they make sure that they're the right culture, the right partnership for me. And I don't like to hire them as employees. I hire them as business partners. Why? Because I want them to feel that they can come to me at any time, that we can have that relationship, that trust, and we set expectations both ways. And for me, knowing that I lost my brother in a fatal car accident, I can connect with family members that are concerned if anything ever happens to them. I also have my in-laws that their house burnt down, and I know that feeling as well because I was part of that whole process. So when I talk to my clients, I really bring those to the table and say, hey, look, this is where I come from, this is who I am, and I want to build the trust in a long-term relationship with you. And now the other thing is, Mr. Payne, I have students there.
Right.
You know, one of the things you've always taught us is you have to pay it forward by bringing other people up with you.
Right.
Well, right now I have 3 student interns in my business.
Yeah. And that's that next phase, right? The next generation, the next. So let's use that as a segue. And Jim's going to have to forgive me for a moment as I put that up there. This book, entitled The Soul of Politics by Jim Walls, was a book I gave you in 2011. This book I recommend highly to anybody, and probably today in 2020 with all that's happening politically, forget what side of the aisle you're on and all that stuff, liberal, Democrat, Republican, conservative, that's not the point. The point is the soul of politics talk about how we as human beings should be involved and engaged with other human beings in democracy that is encompassing all of us, that is overarching of all the things we do as human beings. Democracy and civic engagement plays an important part in our lives. And to talk about being able to be engaged as a civically minded human being, understanding all the 5 tenets of what it means to be a citizen in a democracy. Let me just quickly go over it. There are 5 tenets of what it means to be a citizen living in a democracy. We love to talk about 2 of those 5, which is what? Our individual rights and privileges, because who does that talk about? It's all about me, right? I and me. Well, I might say it's about you, but it's really about me. What about the other 3 of the 5 tenets of what it means to be a citizen living in a democracy, which are what? Our common duties, obligations, and responsibilities. To whom? The other. To find the other increasingly in our society, someone different from me, somebody that does not look like me. Well, that's usually where the rub comes in. But however, that's the we and us conversation. It's always been about we and us, not I and me. Nowhere have I read I to people. We've struggled all these years to become we the people in this country. We still don't understand what does it mean to be we the people. having common duties, obligations, responsibilities to each other. So, fast forward. He enters back home in Santa Fe. Anybody knows the history of Galveston County, not unlike some parts of Harris County, still very racially isolated, segregated, still very prejudiced, still a lot of discrimination. So my good friend here decides he's going to run for city council. Haven't had a Latino on city council in 20 years. In Santa Fe, he runs to be on the city council. And guess what? This past November, he got elected to the Santa Fe City Council. Welcome, council member.
Thank you, sir.
That had to be a journey.
It definitely was. And just if I can set the stage
Please,
a little bit to this.
Please.
Is it was 2018, and the fatal shooting had just occurred at the city of Santa Fe at our high school, where we lost 8 students and 2 teachers. That shooting just rocked our community. And, but overall, our community did come together to try to help those in need, help those that were struggling, the students. I had a niece that was actually at the high school when this occurred. And so my brother, I still remember him trying to figure out where she was and where was she hiding. And they ran from the school. And, you know, a lot of just chaos was happening. Right. So that happened, and we had just elected a brand new mayor, young mayor.
Very young, I remember that.
Yes, absolutely, a brand new young mayor, and he had to take the bull by the horns and step up and work through that. The following May, people started asking me, because I took a role in the distribution of the funds that we had raised, and I've been very involved in the community, mentoring kids, and our family owns a boxing gym in the community, and several things, and me being a CASA advocate. So people just started coming to me and saying, hey, we would like you to run for school board. And I said, well, you know, I don't know. I said, let me explore it. Well, the good thing, Mr. Payne, is it was too late for me to file. So I got out of that one.
Right.
So then they come to me again and they said, hey, well, if you're not going to run for school board, we want you to run for city council.
Right.
And I said, well, let me explore. Let me talk to my family. Let me talk to my brothers. Let me talk to my parents, my wife. And we finally made a decision on the last day, and we filed on the last day in February. And the tough one was we had to choose to run for an open seat or run against an incumbent.
Yeah.
Well, we ran against an incumbent. And I said, if I'm going to do this, we're going to start off by making change right off the bat. Well, the incumbent was there 14 years. And his son was on council with him. And the previous mayor was his brother-in-law.
Okay, a family affair.
So it was an uphill battle.
Right.
But we took it on. And we ended up winning with a little bit over 60% of the vote. But it was because of our commitment to go door to door, our commitment to talk to community leaders, talk to business owners, and be out there and start asking questions. We didn't go to them saying, I want to be your candidate. We went to them and say, hey, what would you like to see in a new councilman?
Right.
So we went in there with the perspective of wanting to get answers for them so then we could be that voice for them. And now we're on council and we're doing positive things. The community seems that they're rallying behind the work that I'm doing for not just for our city, but also for our veterans in the city, and then also through economic development.
Wonderful, wonderful. Let's talk about the veterans real quick. I know you
Absolutely.
did a lot of work with a wonderful program that you're the founder and president of called Honor Local Vets.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So the reason this came around is when I was at Texas State University, there was a professor there that actually took a liking to me. And he was a veteran himself. And he was in the geography department. And he actually established a scholarship in my name over there. And for every veteran that graduates at Texas State University, they receive their red, white, and blue regalia cords whenever they cross over and get their degree. So it's called the Fidencio Leija commemorative cords. So to me, I just knew that I always had to continue his legacy.
Right.
And how do I do that is by establishing things locally. And that's one of the things he always committed to, is saying, if you're going to do something locally.
Right.
And so we started an organization called Operation Honor Our Local Veterans. There's 6 of us. We're all veterans, and the majority of us are disabled vets.
Wonderful.
And what we're doing now is figuring out ways to honor our veterans locally. We've recently put up 35 veteran parking signs in the community. And one of the things we have to understand is that these people that are on the board with me, we all found, and we can confidently say, our turning point in our life came from another veteran opening the doors and introducing resources to us. It didn't come from someone that had never served.
Right.
So we know that
That
as
relationships
veterans.
again. Yeah.
Absolutely. And those relationships are stemming now. And so we're doing things locally so that our local veterans feel honored and they feel like they can reach out to us as veterans, so that way we can help them out and connect them to resources and services.
Well, I know you're going to want to continue to have dialogue and contact. His information is on the bottom of the screen. We're going to continue. So, Fidencio Leija, I want everybody to remember that name. The terms on City Council are 3 years in Santa Fe. So somewhere down the road, County Commissioner of Galveston County, keep that in mind, because it's probably going to happen, because it's all part of the journey. And again, what you heard today is preparation for the next phase, the next step of life along the journey. It hadn't been easy. It's been reflective. It's been prayerful. It's been meditative. It's been kind of taking step backwards and step forwards, like all things in life. But it's a clear pathway if one truly desires to help and serve another human being. Our definition of servant leadership is this, as it always has been, and we'll end on this note. We're put on the face of the earth for one reason and one reason only, to serve our fellow human being. To do that, in order to do that, I have to take care of myself, to be ready, able, available to serve other human beings. In other words, I get to be selfish only in one aspect of my life, to take care of myself so I'm ready, able, available to serve other human beings, so I can be selfless in my service. Selfless in my service. It's not about me. It's about we and us. How I impact another human being's life. The journey, the story that you heard here, is the one we all should aspire to be, as a mentor, as a tutor in another person's life. He's passing it on already with the 3 young students he has as interns. So that's what we're all called to do. Got to get out of here for this week. We're out of time. So we look forward to you joining us in future segments of Dialogue Houston. And until then, as always, peace, power, and love.